Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Matthew, and I am joined today by Survivor 41's Abraham and Survivor Now analyst Ollie. Today, we are going to be discussing episode 3 of Survivor Cambodia Second Chances. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram at Survivor Now Podcast and on Twitter at Survivor Now Pod. This was a wild episode. We started off with a tribe swap, but before that, we went back to Takeo to check in on the tribe who just came back from tribal council. Spencer was very excited that he survived the night and is dedicated to changing up his game. And Terry, on the other hand, is very excited for the move that he has made. So they're feeling on top of the world. I bet the last thing that Terry wants especially is a tribe swap, but it happens.
Emotional vulnerability. That's what I'm gonna dedicate this episode to. Emotional vulnerability. And Spencer's feeling it. And then Spencer has a short timeline from when he played before until he's playing now. So he's feeling it and he's trying to get better, not just at playing the game of Survivor, but actually just being Spencer, trying to have some growth. I enjoyed the fact that it's a tribe swap. I loved it. I think it's a great move to have the first two vote outs and then say, okay, you know what? We're going to break it down to 3 tribes. I think that's the best thing. Now you really have to play a different level of Survivor, and Spencer's finding out firsthand that he either changes the game and survive, or you sink on the same boat you originally came in on. So this is a great episode, but it's definitely a lot of emotion, a lot of vulnerability. I'm gonna say I got a favorite character for this.
I'm curious to know who Abraham's favorite character is.
I know.
So Abraham gets back in. We'll make sure to.
I'm back.
You're back. So who's your favorite character?
Oh, it's hold on. I gotta read the list because it's like 9,000 characters.
You
know who it is? Abby.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Abby says exactly what everybody else is thinking, and she's just gonna be upfront with hers and be like, look, especially when we got these 3 tribes. We see some idol play. I like the way they're doing the idols this season. As far as the extra layer of risk to go after something that could protect you or protect your alliance throughout this particular, especially this swap. But we also see where the swap really impacts Savage the most. I think he took it the hardest. I think he's dealing with it because that was his downfall on his last tribe. So those things come back up and they bubble up, man, and they're right there and they're front and center in your emotional decisions when you go through the game.
Yeah, definitely. We see a lot of people actually comment on their past experience this episode. When we get into the challenge, we'll talk a bit about the players who have done this on their original season as well. So there's definitely some haunting going on here this time. I want to talk about Terry real quick. Him being so proud of his gameplay is something that makes me very happy as a viewer. It's so joyful. I can just see him at I think he sees himself at the final tribal council when someone asks him, what was your biggest move in this game? I could see Terry looking at that person and going, empathy, and just leaving it there because he seems to be so proud of himself for playing that social game that Spencer seems to be lacking. So Spencer seeing this tribe swap as such a blessing because he knows he was on the bottom. And like you said, Abraham, a player like Savage is not ready for a tribe swap and is really dreading this.
Oh, yeah. But I think the thing with this swap anyway is, because I think it was the first time ever Final 18, and then first time ever 2 tribes into 3 tribes, which I think obviously no one was expecting. I know
how you feel on that.
Yeah. But you could see how nervous Savage was. Like, he was obviously openly very nervous, and it is that contrast. You see Savage absolutely scared out of his wits, to then see Spencer who's like, oh, thank God for this. It's like it was almost like a refresh for him. He was like, right, okay, we're ignoring the first 2 rounds and we're keeping going. So I think it was nice to see, but I don't think the swap only benefited Spencer. I think it did benefit a lot more people, but we'll get into that when it comes to specific tribes.
I think it's pretty. It's almost a balanced swap. Everybody had a little bit of effort to say, okay, where can I put myself now with the new swap? I think there were a couple of people that were overconfident, and they looked at it as, okay, as long as we stay in the four, if you got a dominant four, we're good to go. But they already had fractures in the tribe. I mean, you never stop playing the game, and we know who wasn't in trouble on this episode because we didn't see him in the edit. So unless you saw one of the Wigglesworths, you didn't see none. If you look at the edit, you didn't see him at none. They didn't get any edit, so we know they wasn't in jeopardy this particular episode. Um, and the ones I think that were in jeopardy or part of the soap opera that happened was full and center. Abby was there. Abby was there. Abby was there. Terry was there. Terry is overjoyed at his new position.
Oh, Terry is thrilled. And that's hilarious because he actually is in the minority when it comes to original tribes with his swap tribe. So let's go through and talk about who's on what tribe now. So we went from 2 tribes to 3 tribes, and the new Bion tribe is Monica, Jeremy, Fishback, Kimmy, Kelly Wigglesworth, and Spencer. On the new Takeo tribe, we have Keith, Cass, Joe, Sierra, Terry, and Kelly Wentworth. And on the new tribe, which is called Angkor. I'll get that right eventually.
I like angry.
We like angry. Oh, thanks. That's good. I'm going to use that trick. We have Wu, Varner, PG, Abby, Tasha, and Savage on Angkor. You're right, Abraham. I think that these are incredibly balanced for a tribe swap.
Oh yeah, I mean they kept the try, and it's all you got to pick the thing. Jeremy closed his eyes when he picked his buff, or picked the little thing the buff was in. I think Angkor is properly named because there's some angry people on that particular tribe. But we don't see. I mean, we don't see Kelly. We don't see any of the Kellys. Keith was only mentioned in the first maybe 2 minutes of the episode. We didn't see Keith anymore for the episode. And they really focused on folks that really felt some kind of way about being in this tribe swap. We know Spencer emotionally is having to readjust and grow. We see that when he's talking to Jeremy. We don't see Cass much. She says one thing during the initial. We don't see anything else from her until I think they played the actual immunity challenge. So it's overall, man, it's an enjoyable episode because you see how to manage your emotions, and we see what happens when you don't manage your emotions properly.
Yeah, and I'm sure that another person who's not too thrilled with this tribe swap is PG because PG is still on a tribe with Abby Maria. So this is just my conspiracy theorist thing while watching this episode. I'm curious to know how swapped these tribes actually are, or how random the selection actually was. Because I want to point out a few things. On Takeo, we still have Kelly Wentworth, and Kelly Wentworth found the clue to the Takeo immunity idol. We see in this episode that Jeremy finds the clue to the Bayon immunity idol, his original tribe. So now on Anchor, we also have PG and Abby who are still together. So my thoughts are, I'm not sure if they would put another Takeo immunity idol in the game, but I'm sure that Anchor may have had one as well that someone may have missed. But it was cool to see that Bayon, someone finally found that clue as well.
Usually there's an immunity idol for every tribe. When Jeremy went out and they all said they were all looking for idols anyway. I think Fishback definitely felt more comfortable, and he said it with the swap. It just made him feel more comfortable. But again, he wasn't the focus of this episode either. Finding the idol, and like I said before, Jeremy finding that idol and how it's hidden. Because we only see it seemed like, oh, it might have took 15 minutes. But Jeremy said no, it was taking forever. And it does take forever. Because I'm pretty sure they passed that tree plenty of times on the path, and nobody thought to dig in that tree until 5 hours later.
Yeah, well, that when you actually saw like everyone looking, it was very clear that obviously they were looking, and Fishback was the one that initiated it. And I think just speaking on Bion, it was very clear that for this particular swap initially, it really has benefited, I would say, Fishback and Monica the most. Oh. And the reason I say both of them two is because take it back to last episode, and because we mentioned Savage's hierarchy, I mentioned last episode, because it was very clear he had a hierarchy. And again, this can only be speculation, but we know for a fact Fishback was on the bottom. And I think because of how people perceive Monica, she probably was lower on the hierarchy as well. So I definitely think this worked out really beneficial for both of them. And also, what I really enjoyed when we did get the clips of Buy on was, again, because it was kind of Spencer's second chance, you saw him opening up and you kind of saw him actually finally being like, okay, now this is my time to right my wrongs from Takeo. And it was interesting that he spoke to Jeremy, because Spencer was kind of talking how he's quite guarded and he has, like, he keeps his emotions at bay. And you kind of see Jeremy do the same. And I feel like it was one of those things where you can see that these two are going to quite click, in my opinion, from watching it, because you can see that they both have similar personalities, and in terms of like being guarded and not wanting to share. I feel like because of that, they feel like they can share with each other because they know it's a safe space.
I think it's little things you find. And here's the thing: we only see 45 minutes to an hour of the conversation. The other time you're talking about family, friends, relationships, and you tend to bond on the smallest things, and you're really kind of grasping for those small things. Where Jeremy is saying, "Hey, look, I understand where you're coming from. I went through the same thing when I played with my wife," and he also says you don't have to rush it, but we all take roles in each other's lives. Some of the ones that are older players become father figures or older brothers or sisters or mothers. I mean, everybody has some type of subtitle to who they are and how they form those relationships. And those are the things that bond you. That's not going to stop you from getting voted out now. I might feel bad about it, but Ali, I'm going to vote you out, guy. We've cooled in the fan turns on how blown over ice water, but I'm going to vote you out. Matthew, you still with me, guy? You still with me?
Thank you,
Um,
Abraham.
and that's how it is. You're just you're trying to bond, but you also the relationships that you make on Survivor go beyond Survivor. We just don't get a chance to see or live that. And I don't know who Randy trying to reach at the particular time of podcasting. That's Randy.
You know what? Appropriate music cue.
I know. But you get a chance to see those relationships, and I think Spencer is really, and we're going to see the growth in Spencer. But we also see PG, and we also see Abby still. Well, you know what? To me, Abby's direct. Abby's like, look, I'm not going to vote with you. I know I'm in the bottom with you. But who surprised me was Wu. I thought Wu was playing a different type of game. And I don't know if it because he just came off of playing and he just came in second, but Wu hugging Tasha when she came into the tribe, and then Wu still trying to target Abby just didn't work out.
Yeah, that was a bit frustrating for me as a viewer as well. I was so excited with Wu last episode. This episode, it was rough. It was rough to watch. I feel like I can understand where he may have been coming from in that moment, but that's definitely something for us to discuss when we start talking about Angkor, who, as we probably have figured out now, or if you watch the episode, lost the immunity challenge. So, speaking of their tribe, we have Abby, Jeff, PG, and Wu in a majority position, being from the original Takeo tribe. And Tasha and Savage are on the minority. Savage's worst nightmare came true. Tasha, yeah, Tasha, on the other hand, is like, I've been here. I was a part of one of the worst tribes in Survivor history. The last time I played, this is just round 2 for me. And I think what's very funny is Brains Tribe. What's very funny to me is that when they all first get to their camp, Varner says about Savage, like, he's gonna annoy me so much. And I'm like, that's really thick coming from you, Varner. I'm wondering is what you said, Ollie, about Savage sort of having this like leadership essence to him.
It's true. Like when you first look at Angkor, obviously, like I think with Savage having such a leadership personality, you would think straight away if he tries to go into that tribe and do it like straight off the bat, it wouldn't work for him. I think where they stepped back and just kind of focused on talking, it did help them a lot, both Savage and Tasha. But I think the one thing before when we saw clips of the tribes before the immunity challenge, I think you could really see how out of all of them on that tribe, Tasha, in my view, was the most mentally strong. And when I say mentally strong, it's obviously you've seen that she's not going to be phased or she's not going to be panicked by the situation she's in. But then also she's taken the time to sit back and look at the dynamics because she clocks Abby and PG. So I think like we saw, if she was able just to sit back and kind of figure out the dynamics and then see where she can put her little finger in to form a crack, then it will be fine. I think as long as she doesn't have, as long as Savage, if he doesn't start like panicking because he feels like he's in the same situation as his last season and then over panics it, that's where I think things could go wrong for him.
I think it was so entertaining just to watch the new dynamics. Because here's the thing I say, try to talk and speak to everybody. I think last episode I said, like, just talk about 5 things. Pick you 5 things and just go to everybody. Which I thought Wu had done that by, bringing Tosh and them in, saying, hey, welcome. And then they say, hey, we got to build a brand new shelter. The focus would have been for me, hey, let's get this shelter up. But you're right. Varner came out and already tried to say, you know what, let's create a division. Instead of saying, okay, well, let's look at what's coming up. We know we're going to have another challenge. Let's look at the past challenges and let's see how we're going to approach the challenge. I wouldn't even worry about who we're going to vote out. We're going to have an idea about it. But I wouldn't be like, okay, Savage is my target. Because now everybody's put on the defensive. And we're going to see where this plays into Tasha's hands and Savage's hands because you've already put it out there that, hey, you want them gone. Mm-hmm. So now, and what you didn't do is you didn't take stock of your own house. PG, I wouldn't say questionable, but definitely wants to side with Wu or go with a majority, which, okay, that's cool. But they really just unfractured it with Abby. Abby is really the linchpin to just, okay, what direction can we go in? Because it's only 6 of them. You only need 3 to tie, 4 to push a vote. And if Abby is already saying, hey, I'm going with them 2, guess what? That's already 3. Now you need 1 more person.
Well, I think when you look at that tribe anyway, Abby is, when you look at the majority 4 from OG lines, you do see that kind of Abby is the weak link because of the fact that, she would rather go with the people that feel like treat her better. And if she's already in this situation where she's looking at the tribe and going, well, I don't think PG will be fine with me and I don't think we will. I think she's already thinking in her head, right, how can I position myself better? And I think she's already looked at it logically and gone, Tasha and Savage currently don't hate me or have any ill will towards me. They're treating me nicely. Go for it. And I think Varner can see that. And I think that's why he got so wary and kind of was like, no, we don't need to worry about them because he thinks, I think in my brain, Varner thinks that he can be the glue that keeps Abby and PG together. He thinks he can do that. Well, and he feels like Andrew and Tasha are the kind of activator that's going to like keep the glue from forming.
I like to officially say, if you didn't have any chicken and rice, your body's not firing at all cylinders, and they didn't have any chicken and rice. Does Joel still play the game of Survivor? He's still on this season because we didn't see him this episode either. But they did have chicken and rice over there, which helps you to be eating and resting, and they just don't have that. And I think that's where you see a Varner start to slip because now you're kind of saying, I'm not getting a full meal. They're on a brand new island. They got to rebuild from scratch. And yeah, you want to play the game, but your mind is not as quick as it should be.
Yeah, we didn't see Joe talk a lot this episode. We actually didn't see Joe talk at all this episode, but we did sort of see him have a discussion with Kelly Wigglesworth on the new Takeo tribe, where Kelly was doing most of the talking, but I don't know if either of you were getting this vibes. It seems like there might be a working relationship between Kelly Wigglesworth, who is sort of on the, excuse me.
You mean Wentworth?
Thank you. Oh my. Can I just say, I wonder if production had a system in place for if both of the Kellys were going to get votes at Tribal, how that would go. Because, we see Tribal Council all the time. People misspell names all the time. They can't put Kelly W. how would they clarify this? So I'm maybe hoping to see something like that happen if they both get to merge. But anyway, thank you, Ollie. Kelly Wentworth has a conversation with Joe where it sort of seems like they are building a working relationship together, and that's good because Kelly Wentworth and Terry are on the bottom of this new Takeo tribe with Cass, Sierra, Keith, and Joe in the majority from the original Bayon tribe. So this was interesting. It seems like this tribe is smooth sailing right now.
I don't.
Mm.
From what I see, look here. This is what I went in when we had 3 tribes. You don't have to beat. You don't have to be first. You can be second. Don't get me wrong. Always go to win. But if you don't win and come in second, guess what? You're not getting any votes. So I think with Joe and Kelly, I think that's the same concept. We want to compete to win, but if you don't get number one, there is nothing wrong with being number two. Right now, it might be a challenge where they knock out two, but right now, as long as you get number two, you're still good to go. And I think it's a strong tribe. I think they have a good balance, and that's one thing when they did the tri swap. What's the new balance? Yeah,
Mm.
it's not a matter of okay physicality. It's because a combination depending on what it is. The puzzles, they are a killer these days. Those puzzles that are put together, and they take a team putting it together, so it doesn't make a difference. But if you look at the physical demand that the actual challenge took on everybody, so if you just kind of pan back and look at Jeremy bent over, Fishback tired, they show the physical strain it takes to get there, and then you got somebody working on the puzzle. But I do like Joe and Kelly as a team. I just don't think it's nothing to strike with now because unless you're voting, it really we don't see them play other than saying, "Hey," in the event that we do have to vote.
Mm. And I think that was more so you could see, because I think with Takeo it was very interesting in terms of Terry and Kelly, because in my view, Terry seemed not delusional, but I think because he was still on the high from the last tribal, I think he kind of came into the tribe and he saw the strength and was like, well, we've got tribe strength, sorted, that's it. And I think he wasn't, again, he then wasn't looking at the social aspect of, okay, no, there are 4 people that were from the other tribe, so that does leave me and Kelly on the outs. Whereas Kelly, you hear her quote, it's kicking Terry under that imaginary bus.
That's
Like, got that
just
scene.
slapping it, bam! I was like,
Yeah,
"Ooh,
it's
you."
like, yeah, go. But that's
It's
the thing with Kelly, she's already noticing that and kind of going, right, I have my idol, don't really want to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in good with the girls. I'm going to speak to Joe, make sure people feel good with me. Me and Keith from the same season, fabulous. Let's reconnect there. So I think Kelly was doing, in my opinion, the smart thing of observing, seeing how the tribe dynamic is, and going. Whereas from the edit, obviously, it looks like Terry's just kind of like, yep, I'm happy. We got tribe strength. Let's hope we just win these challenges.
You
yeah,
can never get placed in Survivor.
Terry is totally riding that high from his empathy move from Abby Maria, and that was his move. And that's
Mm.
where I get a little bit worried about when you successfully do something in the game that benefits your game. Um, you may get, I don't want to say cocky is the word, but you may feel like you are in an overly safe position. And we hear him say, we don't have the numbers, meaning him and Kelly Wentworth, but he doesn't think they need the numbers because, like you said, they are very strong tribe and he doesn't see them losing. So it is great to see Kelly Wentworth sort of take the game in her own hands, say, this is what I'm dealt with. And here is how I know that I can survive in the case that our tribe ever does, because like we're saying here, it's unpredictable. Go to tribal council.
Yeah, in the game of Survivor, there's no days off. So you play the game all day, every day, because that's what you really do. Terry makes a mistake. You're right. He's just you're riding a high from something that's already passed. You need to get to the present. Where we see Kelly, she's kicking it back in gear. I got a new tribe. But we also see where Wu is campaigning for the same mentality. He's saying, hey, it's 4 of us. Let's stick together. Let's not do anything crazy. And we see that just explode.
Yeah, it doesn't go great for Wu during the rest of this episode. Unfortunately, I really do want to see him come back from all of this. But let's jump over to the new Bayon tribe, which has a majority of Jeremy, Kimmy, Monica, and Steven from Old Bayon, and a minority from Takeo of Kelly Wigglesworth, and Spencer. So we know Spencer's already seeing this. He's using this as the golden opportunity it is. He may be on the outs numbers wise, but that is not necessarily a worry to him because he was already on the outs of his original tribe. Do you think that that benefits him actually with the tribe swap at this time?
Oh, 100%. Obviously I know I mentioned earlier it benefits Stephen and Monica, but Bion also likes it benefits Spencer wholeheartedly because he was able to have a new chance and have a new slate. And I think, especially with these four, because I think when you look at the four, obviously Jeremy was in that majority alliance of original Bayon, and then you kind of had Stephen who was on the outs, and then Monica and Kimmy that were kind of floating in the middle, probably more lower tier. So it gives Spencer and potentially Kelly Wigglesworth a chance to kind of form their own things in the tribe. So I definitely think this is a good thing for Spencer.
I'm with you, Ali. He has another chance to get to know everybody. You know, you carry a little bit of baggage because you're carrying somebody from your old tribe, but you get a chance to know and meet. And we see it happens. We see it with him and Jeremy, bonding on something that Spencer is willing to talk about, that he may have not been willing to talk about in his first season. But if you get a tribe, and like I said, I love this. I love the breakdown of 3 tribes because now you play a different game and you're trying to secure with your old tribe mates a foundation, and we get a chance to see who actually makes it happen.
Actually, can I just add one more thing? Sorry, my brain just remembered this. Obviously, we noticed Stephen was a bit more paranoid, like was still slightly paranoid in terms of the idol. Did we notice how everyone now suddenly was fine searching for the idols? Like Jeremy was like, yeah, sure, let's go for it. I'm not saying anything, but notice how when someone isn't on that tribe, everyone's more comfortable going and looking for the idols.
Look, Fishback just went too early. That's all. Fishback wanted to jump out there on day one.
But I feel like once Savage wasn't in that equation, I'm just going to say his name.
Once
Savage wasn't in that equation, everyone was like, okay, let's go look for these idols. Because I think from the first couple of episodes, it kind of almost looked like, again, I Savage, if you're watching this, I don't personally hate you, but I feel like he did set a precedent of, this is my tribe, here are the rules. If you go searching out for an idol, it's going to come back to haunt you. And I think that's why everyone was so kumbaya. I think watching this particular episode, I kind of noticed how, especially with Bion, everyone seemed a bit more relaxed and kind of were like, okay, let's do what we can now, because they may have had that freedom.
That's a good observation. I didn't notice that.
It's also funny though that like Steven, I think he was the one that sort of announced in his confessional that the original Bion members are going to go search for the idol. And they made a big deal about how this is going to be our idol. And I'm just here thinking, no, it's not. It's going to be the person who finds it unless someone finds you finding it. So I think that the whole thing about this is an idol for the group. I think one of the only times I ever saw that being a very successful move for someone was Xander in 41, where he came back from the thing with the idol where he had to do the ship wheel and said, "Hey guys, I got all of us an idol," and everyone was like, "Oh, that's amazing," which I was very surprised about. But I don't think anyone who finds an idol in a on a group of 6 would risk telling anyone.
Matthew, you be standing next to me. You're gonna have to literally be standing next to me and watch my hand pull the paper out for me to tell you. Because if anything else is like, okay, I need to make sure that I get further in the game before I worry about if we get further in the game. And we see Kelly get her idol, and then she gets it, and she say, "I got an idol." We see Jeremy find a clue, and now he has to get his idol. He said, "I'm not sharing this with anybody." So the name of the game is not tell everybody you got an idol. We see in the new era of Survivor, we've seen other episodes of the regular Survivor, where people want to share that information because they want to use it as currency. And if it's played correctly, not with and my man is cool as a fan turned on high, you found an idol, played the idol, and then voted out the person you played the idol for. That's probably not the best use of an idol because now you can't protect yourself. So it's going to be interesting to see when they start playing these idols, when and why. That's gonna be interesting. But it's definitely fun finding a note and actually looking for them. But me and Ollie, Matthew, you gotta be standing next to me, guy. You're not
Yeah.
getting no,
Literally, you could see me have the idol in my hand, open it, look at it, put it around my neck, put it back in my pocket. I will still tell you I haven't got an idol.
I'm rolling with Ollie all day long, and I'll be like, I didn't see it. He gonna convince me. I'll be like, I didn't see it. Was it there?
I'd look at Abraham and be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
You would say it's just a stick. It's not an idol. It's just a stick.
Oh, let's take a moment to give a shout out to the kitty cat or whatever that was running on the tree. And I was like, where did it get these animals from?
Wasn't that beautiful? I was shocked.
Let me tell you something. Everything that I saw that was an animal related on our season, I never saw while I was there. So no.
Can we talk about this? Do we think that the animals that the show picks to edit into the episode has any resemblance to what's happening in the story of the season?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good
one. It's a good one. But no.
I feel like in Survivor Fans versus Favorites, we saw when the Black Widow Brigade was forming, we saw a lot of like spider B-roll. And then we see when people are being sneaky, we always see like a snake. And in one episode, I think it was episode 2 of this season, right before it cut to Spencer, we saw a scorpion. So I'm wondering
first of all,
if we're going to see Spencer strike.
No, I think that was legitimately, we got a scorpion and it's going to be good footage for the TV. Because first of all, it was a little kid scorpion. It wasn't a big one. And it went into the fire. So if we're talking about metaphors, are we talking about burning somebody alive? But I think the scorpion got found and they was like, let's kill it before it bites us.
Yeah. And I think that was Kelly Wigglesworth that chucked it in the fire as well, wasn't it?
She was running to the fire.
She was striking.
Yeah, she was like, get out the way. I'm trying to get this kill.
Yeah, this was also last episode at Tribal Council when people were going up to vote. They showed a scorpion crawling up something, and then it cut right to it faded. Actually, it faded right over to Spencer. So we'll see. Maybe Spencer has this big striking move coming up. But Abraham, you had mentioned that Jeremy had found a clue to the hidden immunity idol when he was searching with his tribe. He's keeping it to himself, and the clue says that at the next immunity challenge, the idol will be hidden under the third chest that appears in the challenge. So we are going to take a quick 47-second break, and then we're going to talk about if Jeremy gets the idol or not.
Hi, Survivor Now podcast listeners. I am Katie from KT Designs, better known as Katie Tedesco Art on both Instagram and Etsy. I have been designing and selling Survivor products for over 7 years at my Etsy shop, including replicas like hidden immunity idols and Survivor trading cards with all of the players' stats on the back. I am so grateful for Survivor Now for giving me this shout out and helping me reach even more superfans. I love listening to their podcast. So if you are looking for some really unique reality TV products for yourself or to give a superfan in your life, come check out my Etsy shop at www.etsy.com/shop/KatieTedescoArt.com.
Okay, I really would like from KT Designs, they have that safe, not safe coin. I feel like I really want that in case I ever need to flip a coin in the future.
I just want one of the idols or the thing.
Oh, yeah, that looks cool too.
Yeah.
Safe,
I
not safe.
want one of them. I'm just making that note to someone. I'm putting that out in the universe.
Well, so now we get to the immunity challenge. This is where the idol is hidden. And let's see. So the tribes are going to have to push a cart through an obstacle course. When they arrive at each tower spread out throughout the course, a person from their tribe must retrieve a key that will unlock a chest. Tribes must add each chest to their cart as they go through the course. And remember, the immunity idol is hidden under the third chest that the tribe comes across. And once all 3 chests have been collected, the tribes must take apart their carts and pass the disassembled pieces through a fence before rebuilding it on the opposite side. Finally, 2 tribe members will solve a puzzle using the puzzle pieces that are found in the chest, and the first 2 tribes to complete the puzzle win immunity. I would love to do this challenge.
Look, I'm with you, Matthew. We voting Ollie out. Look,
I want to do the challenge.
I have an idol. I'll play it on Ollie.
I gotta pick somebody, man. Ollie. Matthew is my guy this week. He called me Abe, so he's my guy.
No,
I
it's
love
just
I love these challenges, man. I love these are old school Survivor challenges with layers of just competitiveness in it all through it. But I want when you look at the challenge, I want you to look at the people. Just forget about the challenge. Look at the people that do the first part, and look how drained they are and how exhausted they are. And I'm looking back, I'm like, they tired.
mm.
So,
Well, the whole first part of that challenge is teamwork. It's pure teamwork. You have to know what you're doing, what your role is, and making sure that that is how it goes. It can't be a thing of there has to be at least one person calling the shots, and it can't be too many cooks. Because with this thing, if you've got someone shouting or yelling, it's going to be chaos. And as long as you know what you're doing with that first part of the challenge and you can work with each other, then it's strong. And obviously, that first part was where we saw Jeremy with the idol. Are we
oh,
going on?
he was magnificent in going for
Mm.
it. I didn't think that was going to be the move, but when I saw it executed, I was like, he basically used the trunk to block him.
It was so well done. He got into the position of being the person to open up the chest or unlock the chest
Mm.
with the key. I thought that was very clever. You could tell that when they were going through the challenge before it, I'm sure he said, "I can unlock it. I can get it, and then I'll help
Yeah.
lift it."
Yeah.
And you're right. It was so effortless. I wonder. I'd love to know, Jeremy, because of course you're watching. I'd love to know if you practiced where you would put the idol, because if you know what's
Mm.
coming up and you know that you have to hide it fairly quickly, and I would love to ask Kelly this as well, do you practice where you're going to throw it, because you don't have a lot of options to and you don't have a lot of time to figure that out.
Mm. Well, I was
Well,
going to say, it looked really quick. And from my view, it looked like if he was a split second too late, it could have fumbled because it almost looked as if Idol went in the pocket, grabbed the key and go because also Kimmy was right there.
yeah.
So if she was, she clearly wasn't paying attention, but if he was even like a second too late, someone could have seen him grabbing that idol.
So here's a little bit behind the tent. When for all y'all future Survivor players, when you're picking your wardrobe out, it has to go through an approval process. You make sure you look at your wardrobe and put yourself in those situations. If I have to do a move like that, let's say you had no pockets, and it's like, well, that's not going to work because now you have it or no place to kind of slide it in. So you got to remember when you do your wardrobe, make sure you pick stuff that they approve that you can say, you know what, if I got to hide an idol, I got either a pouch or a place to do it in. Just that forward thinking, because I know y'all both gonna be on Survivor. I don't want to see y'all drop an idol and be like, we talked about this on the show. What happened? Because I'm gonna text you when the show air and be like, okay, Matthew, what happened, guy? What's going on?
I can count on you to hold us accountable.
Yeah, I'll be texting. I text all through our season, everybody. I was like, oh, so that's how you're gonna do it. What was going on?
I think it was funny also that Jeremy, when he found the clue to the idol before the challenge, he said, "I'm gonna have to find this idol in front of 17 people." And I could just imagine Kelly Wentworth at home watching this, being like, "Try doing it with 20 people in the game." It's still very, very risky. And we see, if like you said, Ollie, if he didn't get it on time, it could have been disastrous. So I also want to point out, Abraham, you mentioned that Jeff Probst can be pretty messy during tribal interactions. I love that he called Cass, Spencer, and Tasha out for having done this challenge in Cagayan and failing miserably. He said that was the worst tribe performance in a challenge I have ever seen. Everyone who was watching it was laughing at all of you. This time it will happen again to one of you, but two of you will have a redemption. So good luck. I thought, what a positive note to leave the three of them on before going into this.
Jeffy is messy. He messy. I just, and you'd be like, in the back of your mind, you'd be like, we already know we didn't pass that challenge. It's not like you need to tell me. And here's the funny part. Like when we did our challenge and we couldn't find the ore, you only saw like maybe 3 minutes of that. Jeff was talking to us like 20 minutes with that. And it's like you only see that fraction of the time, man. It's a great part of the show because it kind of, lets you know what happened before. And being a second chance, he identifies the actual challenge. Like you should have an upper hand when you sit here and strategize on how you're going to approach it, because all three of you have already played it before, which kind of feeds back into your theory of, is it really a random division of the tribes? Because one person from each one of those seasons landed on everybody's tribe. So we're gonna throw that out there for people to think about. But yeah, it's one of those things. Either you're gonna try harder and figure out how can I overcome it and let your tribe know where you came up short, but somebody's still gonna lose. I don't care how you do it. Somebody's still gonna lose.
Yeah, but I also love that the challenges are kind of a throwback. There's always someone on the tribe that Jeff can be like, this could be redemption for you, or you've done this before and won, are you going to do it again? So I love that that's also an element with this second chance thing. Then it's not just the players, they are taking the challenges into account, which I'm enjoying.
Yeah, we saw that with Wigglesworth in episode 1 with the very first challenge on the show ever, and it didn't work out for Wigglesworth. She did not get that redemption. So, besides Jeremy going for the idol, were there any standout moments in this challenge that excited both of you?
Well, I wouldn't say excited. It was just something I noticed. It's when they got to the puzzle, and obviously we always know the puzzle was the equalizer, and you kind of saw people swapping in and out. But what I did find interesting was on KO, because I think it was Cass and Sierra started, but then look who joined in to finish and do most of the puzzle. It was Joe. So Joe, I felt like he kind of just went into game mode, but then I feel like he also proved that he's got brain and brawn. And I feel like obviously with the challenge and stuff, I think people are just focusing on that. They're not looking at that. But I kind of noticed that being like, he's showing that, he can do this physical stuff, and then straight away got into that puzzle, which is quite a mental struggle. I noticed that and was like, interesting.
Good observation.
To me, it's too early. I don't really worry about individual threats at this time. I just worry about winning. It's just about winning. And you look and see, you're right, the swap out is definitely helpful. Because when you're standing back looking at the puzzle, it's way different when you up close to it working on the puzzle. So I think we saw some good interaction between the tribes that work together. And that second and third place wasn't that far apart. But those puzzle pieces are not feather light. So they have enough weight on it to impact the way you got to hold it and try to keep it up there. I think the puzzles and stuff was masterful in allowing us to see who wanted to step up and who never stepped up. Because again, in my mind, I'm like, okay, if you never stepped up, you're going to be on my list. Well, we did a puzzle. We didn't hear them even try to help us to solve the puzzle. So you're kind of looking for little nuggets. And I saw people just kind of playing and looking for different nuggets. But I saw Spencer and Jeremy just destroy the last part of that puzzle, working together and getting it done. So I saw Wu was over there struggling by himself. And you got to think about it. It's 6 people working on one puzzle, and you still can't see the vision of it. And that's where it comes down to to me, that has nothing to do with bronze. It's the ability to be able to look at something and then recreate it. So when you're trying to vote people out, these are things you got to look at and say, okay, am I going to vote you out because I don't like you, or this person's great at puzzles?
But then, sorry.
No,
I was also going to say, I realised when you just mentioned that there, because I think it was Wu and PG that were on the puzzle for Angkor, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If you notice, Takeo had Cass. Bion had Spencer. Where was Tasha?
Where was Tasha?
She was, because you think this is the exact same puzzle as that one. Like, surely there would be part of you that's thinking, what's going on with this though? Because at least Tasha, because I think she did, I can't remember if it was Cass and Spencer or if she did help with the puzzle on her last season. But you would kind of think like she might have an inkling of how it's meant to go.
Sometimes you don't want to touch that fire.
Huh?
Yeah, sometimes you don't want to touch that fire. You know you're not good at puzzles. Stop running up there. If you're not good at puzzles.
When it comes to Tasha, I'll get to her in a minute when we talk about the results.
I think it was also, definitely. And I think it was, Tasha knows that numbers wise, at this point, she and Savage are on the bottom. So I think there's also a strategy there of, I'm not going to paint a bigger target on my back from failing at this again. And something I want to call out, because I didn't see any other tribe do this, but did you notice Takeo was the only tribe right before the puzzle where they all had to drag that wagon over like the ditches? they were the only tribe to clear the heavy obstacles, and it was so cool. They all knew what each member of their tribe was going to get and pick up and clear out of the way. And it was great that they took that time to do it. And I think that's may have been what helped them snag the first win of the challenge.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Strategy going into the challenge, you get a chance to talk to each other. And like you said, Ollie, you get a chance to position everybody where you think it's going to be best utilized to get through the challenge. Because everybody's not going to be able to physically drag that. That chest is heavy. So you got to say, okay, this is where, let's take Jeremy and we take Spencer. You're going to pretty much exhaust him. And if you go back and look at the challenge, and as soon as they get to where all three chests are at, just look behind them and look where everybody's just exhausted. Well, you still need people to step up on the challenge and start doing the puzzle, because Jeremy wasn't the first one on their puzzle. He came in later to start on the puzzle, but he was exhausted. And that's just due to editing, his powers came back.
Yeah. But we finished the challenge, and Takeo and Bion win immunity. Angkor does not. They lose. What I will say is that I still think this was a redemption for Tasha. Her tribe did not lose as bad as the very first time she did this challenge, that her and Wu did this challenge. So good, good on there. You could tell even when Probst was trying to like poke that bear again, she was like, no, like I'm proud of myself, and I think we did, really good. So I'm proud of, it was great seeing that. And then we get a wonderful, wonderful moment. I love when tribes cross communicate, but this was so obvious. You're supposed to like wait to go in for a hug. They do this on Australian Survivor a lot, where they like go to hug a person and then they like whisper something. What do we think Varner was trying to communicate to Wiggles?
I have no idea. Because, like, we don't, like, the thing is, you don't even get the chance to see what he's trying to say. And Tasha has literally gone, nope. And I don't know, I could be, like, the minority opinion on this. But I feel like Tasha made it worse. Because she could have just gone to Varna and been, like, whispered and gone, like, what are you doing? Stop. Like, let's not do that. But instead, she's literally going, we got her out. I was like, you've now just kind of exposed whatever is going on with this tribe. And the thing was, she actually wasn't one of the people that was causing the tension. But then she's kind of brought herself into that and been like, no, I'm going to like call this out and make people aware.
I have a different take on it.
Yeah, I thought I'd see the story on this.
I personally loved it. Look, we already said it's going to be chaotic this episode, and you don't know where you're at on the bottom. The viewer knows that you've talked to everybody, but you as a player don't know until they air it that everybody talked to everybody. And Tasha knows her and Savage are on the bottom. They're the only two people. They're outnumbered. You're going to do anything to get the tension off of you on somebody else. Now, was it theatrical? Oh, loved it. Just came out there and said, stop. Don't do that. Don't talk amongst the tribe. We're trying to make a bond here. And you've already lost, so you know somebody got to get voted out. And Varner, it wasn't necessary. You got a majority. You got 4 to vote with. You got you think you had a strong majority. We're going to talk about that. But you shouldn't have any worries. There's no conversation at that point that's going to make a difference that's going to help you.
Absolutely not. And what I was getting, because I was trying to read Varner's lips, I think he was saying something about Monica and about, let me find it in my notes. I think that Varner was mouthing something about Monica and Kimmy to Wigglesworth. And then right before Tasha jumps in front of him, I think he's saying us 4.
Yeah, that wouldn't be necessary. I mean, you're not even at that point where the merge is even coming up. Merge is still too far away, and you still got to survive your tribe. You got PG on your tribe. You got Abby on your tribe. You got Chaos on your tribe, and not Chaos Cast. You got Chaos with those two, and you don't have enough stability on your own tribe to worry about what's happening on somebody else's tribe. And his thing about it is, Tasha just capitalized on your failed moment. And you made a bad move, and Tasha jumped on it too. And you know what Savage said? Right on. He was right there with it.
Yeah, he agreed. When in his confessionals, he said, I shouldn't have done that, but I think it's more because he got caught. And I agree that I think this actually maybe saved Tasha and Savage right then and there to call so vocally to call out Varner for being a rat because of this very obvious cross-tribal communication.
Mm.
So I think this was good. I like that she took the opportunity and didn't just like keep it in her back pocket. Because if she went back to camp and said, "I noticed this," who's to say if it was, who's to say if anyone else would believe that?
Mm.
And we got Jeff poking the bear again
Yeah.
by saying, "Hey, there was a lot of chatter on your mat, Angkor. What was going on?"
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I know I'm in the minority opinion on this, but I think from my perspective, because especially with Tasha anyway throughout the episode, there was almost this thing of I don't want to do anything that would show me up. And I feel like when I saw that, I was like, she's like being like, "Hi, I'm going to call this," like, I don't know. It was just one of those weird things for me personally. I think part of me thinks if I was in that situation and if Tasha did that to me, the glare and side eye that I'd be giving her at that point was helpful. That'd probably be it.
It's a big swing. It's a big
Yeah.
risk.
Hold on, let's back up. So, Ali, you saying if you were in that same situation and Tasha did that in the middle of everybody, you would have went off on her?
I wouldn't have gone off on her. I would have probably just been like, "Look, stupid mistake and all this." But then going back to the tribe, I probably would have spun it to my original tribe and been like, "She's not afraid to call anyone out." I was like I would have just spun it and been like, basically, she will happily call any of us out. I would have just tried to spin it on her because part of me would have been like,
"Hey, look," part of you been like, "Oh, I'm about to get that bus and drive it over the top of you. I just got to get ready for it."
Well, we go back to camp after tribal, and clearly everyone is saying we got to vote Varner out. That was not cool what Varner did at the challenge, and it's time to vote him out. And here I was going, "Yes, let's do it. Today's the day." And somehow it gets ruined. So I'm a bit confused. I'd love to talk through the strategy here and discuss if this was the right move, what ended up happening.
So I think with pre-tribal, what happened was obviously you have the main thing of Savage and Tasha found the crack and went boom, like they just imploded the crack. But to me, I think what the issue was, it had nothing to do with Varner. It had to do with PG and Abby, because obviously you see them talking, and then you've got Wu, PG, and Abby having their discussion, and unfortunately, the icon entertainment known as Abby is still not over her feelings of PG and Wu. And it's kind of like they're going, "Well, can I really trust you?" And to be fair, she does have a point. And it's kind of one of those things of, can I really trust you? Vote like Wu, you voted for me before. PG, I know that we have some issues. But I think what really kind of tipped it over the edge to cause this big divide thing was PG finally letting her emotions take over her decision, because you saw that it was PG that went to Savage and Tasha first and was like, "No, we've got to get rid of her. I've had enough of her. We'll go. I'm voting for Abby." She was the one that was like, "No, we're changing. It's not Jeff, it's Abby." And then obviously that's where Savage and Tasha capitalized and was like, "Okay, there's these two and these two. Pit them against each other. We're in the middle. Got the votes."
Who was the swing vote? Wasn't it Varner the swing vote?
No.
It was Tasha and Savage.
Savage.
No. Tasha Savage voted for PG and Wu voted for Abby. He voted for Abby again, which Abby points out to him. I mean, you got to be able to manage your emotions, and it's a really difficult task. The longer you're in the game, the more difficult it becomes. But we see Abby's just direct. I know we're not together, so I'm not going to vote for Savage. I'm not going to vote for Tasha, but that still leaves Varner open. You could have voted for Varner. You could have just shifted to Varner, but Wu to me just wouldn't let that Abby thing go. I mean, it was already set up perfectly by Tasha that you can't trust Varner. You already had Tasha Savage. They could have voted for Bonner. You could say, we only need 2 more people. And you could have said, hey, look, Abby, you had her. So that's 3. You need 1 more. Under one of the 3 that's left could have voted for PG, Bonner, they're trying to vote out, or Wu. Wu could have said, you know what, it ain't time for Abby to go right now. Let's get Bonner out. And that's the thing about it is you're making these decisions, and I think Wu is the one that dug a bigger hole because he has to go back.
That's where I was a little confused. You're right. I feel like regardless of where PG said PG was voting, which was for Abby, they still had the numbers to do their original plan of voting out Jeff. And I will say I kind of felt a little bad for PG, just empathetically, in terms of it seemed like no matter what she said, no matter how she acted towards Abby, there was always a way to make her seem annoying or on the outs. And there were moments where I could sense that PG was trying to let bygones be bygones with Abby. That being said, we find out later that I feel like there is some justification for Abby to still try to get PG out. But it seemed like Abby never let up on PG.
PG just was in a bad situation. I think we can all agree. Sometimes you get in the crosshairs of just somebody that you just can't get away from it. And Abby just happened to be that. I'm pretty sure somebody else did something too, because Kelly never got targeted by Abby. And Kelly was right there talking and laughing. So it's just odd. And then if she hadn't gotten put on that tribe with Abby, she would have still been in the game. So sometimes fate is fate.
Fate is fate. And this is where it gets interesting because there are some mistakes that I think PG made. So one of them being when her, Wu, and Abby had that conversation of who are you voting out, Wu and PG were both set with Tasha and Savage to vote Varner out. And one thing I noticed that was interesting is when they're filling Abby in on this, they're saying, we're voting for Jeff, but PG says, I haven't made up my mind yet. And that's where I'm like, and Abby calls her out on it too. She's like, well, are you or aren't you? So even though there is somewhat of a solid plan in place, for some reason, PG is still saying we're thinking it through. It could be because that's what you do in Survivor until a plan is solidified right before Tribal. You keep your options open. But I understand where Abby was coming from, where it's like, well, are you going to solidify anything or aren't you? And Abby had to do virtually nothing except keep her attitude towards PG in order for PG to go ahead and sink her game.
It to me is saying 2 people's games. Because when we saw the vote actually happen, there was no Varner on the vote, there was no Tasha on the vote, there was no Savage on the vote. So we know they didn't get the votes. You only had PG and you only had Abby. So that means somebody else is now the new target of Abby. And we know it's Wu because she's like, okay, well, you voted for me again.
Let me show a comment from one of our viewers who says that they hope Wu doesn't end up isolated for voting for Abby, as everyone seems to lean into her emotional nature, and I know she'll be gunning for him. You're right. Let's see how this plays out. So was there anything at Tribal Council that was a surprise, or was it business as usual?
Messy Jeff was there.
Messy Jeff. Yeah.
Jeff. Yeah, I feel like it was because tensions were so high. I feel like Jeff was there, like in his element, going like, "Yay, we're here." But I don't know. Again, this might be the unpopular opinion, but when they were talking about obviously the drama that occurred and all this, again, unpopular opinion. I feel like the way that Tasha was talking about it, I don't know, for me, it was almost like she was policing people on how to act. And it was a complete 180 to how it was at Cagayan. Because obviously she was mad that people, because I remember in Cagayan, there was this whole thing of people can't play, like you've just got to sit there. And she was like, absolutely not. It's not how you do it. We're doing it like this. And I appreciated that. Whereas I feel like this time, it was one of those, no, you can't do that. No, this is what I've got. No. And it was almost like she had then become, from Cagayan, what she was annoyed about. Again, this might just be my unpopular opinion, but when I watched it, I was kind of looking at her being like, why are you telling people how they can and can't act? It might just be my sensitive emotional side. But it was Also, I felt like moving on from that, the tribal was very open. It was very clear that the tribal was open. Varna made the tribe very open, like the discussion.
I think it was great. I agree with you. Here's the thing about it is you carry the baggage of your last time you played. I'm not saying that Savage doesn't carry baggage, but his baggage is 15 years old, so his baggage is a little different. Where Tasha is fresh off of hers, and she's like, "I'm going back out playing again." And you're trying to make so many changes in your game because you got voted out. You're trying to figure out how not to be voted out. I think she started this whole thing, and I think she finished it. She started it at the end of the tribal challenge, and then she finished it at tribal council. Now it could be messy because it was. It was messy. It was all over the place. But guess who name didn't show up on them pieces of paper? That's really when it's all said and done. That's really what's going to be important to getting you 3 more days. You want to get 3 more days, and if I got to throw you under the bus, I'm gassing the bus up. I'm the bus driver. I'm gonna give me a little cool hat. Riding all over it. Anyway.
I also think Tasha has established enough relationships, of course, with Savage, but also we see before Tribal Council with Abby as well. We, very briefly, we see that they're on a very similar ideology, whether that's Abby telling Tasha what Tasha wants to hear. But, when they're talking about Varner, basically they're both in agreement that Varner should not have done that because they need to keep their tribes strong and not come across as weak to the other tribes before challenges. So I think I understand. I also feel like coming in from the game so recently, you're very aware of what you feel like you did wrong the first time. And I feel like there is a big change from everyone to try to correct those.
Well, hold up, Matthew. So if Tasha had jumped in front of you, how would you handle that?
If Tasha had jumped in front of me?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have communicated across tribes.
Oh, you said, look, I'm not going to be in that situation. Okay. We still a voting block. We're still together. Okay. I'm good with that.
Yes. Thank you. So we get tribal council and PG gets voted out. The vote is for PG, Abby, Tasha, Savage, and Varner. And for Abby, we get PG and Wu. And on PG's way out of the game, she wishes Wu luck. And Abby wonderfully just turns to Wu and says, "You voted for me again. Do you remember basically saying, you remember the first time you voted for me? That's so funny. You did it twice. That's hilarious." I'm nervous for Wu.
It was that thing of fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. But also, in that situation, I don't fully blame Wu because that was kind of PG just unintentionally, because I feel like looking at that, she just wanted to, in her mind, she just wanted to say good luck, Wu. But what she did was throw him under the bus before she was going without realizing, because
put a stamp on it, stamp of approval to vote out next. Now, what happened to Varner? Varner didn't even vote for he was all gun-ho about keeping the tribe together. Now you just voting out one of your own members. So it's funny how something starts and how something ends on Survivor.
I just feel like they should have gotten rid of Varner personally for a couple of different reasons. I feel as though the conflict between Abby and PG would be good. It may be frustrating to deal with at camp life, but I do think that as long as their targets are constantly pointing at each other, I mean, we hear PG say in her voting confessional, "I've wanted you out since day one," which I guess is another clue that Abby was sort of right to get her out now. But it's strange to me that especially the people who came from the original tribe with Varner and saw that Varner flipped, at both tribals with who he was voting with, I think it was a missed opportunity.
Well, definitely. I mean, here's the thing about it is sometimes you get emotionally invested in something that's not in your best interest. Had she just said, and again, don't get me, it's difficult. If she just
If she just what, Abraham? What could have saved her? Wait,
to be fair, I think what also saved
then we would have.
Oh, you're back. You cut out for a second. Are you there?
I know. We paid so much money and still got bad cable. I think if PG had said, you know what, I'm not going to focus on Abby and I'm just going to kind of put her in the back and just focused on Varner, they could have got Varner out next. They could have been running the actual tribe because they had the numbers, but they got too many fractures. And unfortunately, the less your numbers are, the more your tribe is going to get decimated because now you're down one more person. So now you can't really compete at the same level as the other tribes that have 6 members. Now you got 5. If you lose another one, now you got 4. And just now it's just like wholesale. Who makes it to the end?
Yeah, it was clear as day that the thing that saved Varna was PG and Abby's emotions. Because if PG didn't let her emotions get the best of her over the Abby situation, because the thing is, you see it in episode 1 and 2, like she is calm and cool and collected, and she's clearly learning from her second chance of, I've just got to let it go, I've just got to keep going. If I can just kind of keep Abby at bay, then we're fine. But I think what partly happened was, because it was clear that, new tribe, not a new beginning, it let PG be like, nope, my emotions are coming out here. And because you don't really see much of Varna after that, you just see him kind of digging his head in the sand. That's what kind of saved him from getting any type of vote.
It's true. It's true. I still don't see Varner making it to merge. Again, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I have not seen this season. I know who wins, but I don't know anything else about it. So I'm just making my assumptions as a first time viewer. I want to thank you all for joining us again. We have some exciting stuff happening at Survivor Now Podcast. So make sure you check our Instagram at Survivor Now Podcast and our Twitter at Survivor Now Pod. If you can, please go ahead and subscribe, like this video, and leave comments. We'd love to hear from you all. Thank you again for joining us, and we're excited to see you back here for episode 4.